Redditors with Thin Walls, what have you heard in your apartment? My upstairs neighbors taking turns zapping each other with a stun gun, hitting the floor, groaning in pain, and then laughing like Beavis and Butthead. Someone sneezed. We said bless you. They laughed. Yeah, I had that quite a few times with my neighbors of 4 years. Sometimes we'd be cooking at the same time, and shout it needs more salt or something through the wall that divided the kitchen. But shouting bless you to a big sneeze was the best fun. I gave them a key when I went traveling and they'd water my plants and collect my post. Sometimes they'd fill the fridge with bread and milk and a bottle of beer for when I returned. When my mum died, they had bought flowers for my return. For the life of me, I don't know how, but they'd chosen her favorite flowers and had as many as my mum had had children. Good neighbors. I miss them. I've heard my neighbor giving his granddaughter a xylophone, for birthday I guess. She could play it well and kept playing for a while. Immediately after she left I could hear him trying to play something his granddaughter played. He practiced for a solid hour until he managed to play this song correctly and stopped with a joyful yes. It was one of the purest things I've ever experienced. You're only with me for the crack. My next door neighbors. Edit, guys, they're not Irish. They're white trash Dartmouth folk in Nova Scotia. It's not quite a neighbor story, but I used to live next to a park and you'd hear the craziest stuff from the addicts who slept there at night. My favorite was two guys yelling at each other around 1 a.m. when this exchange happened. You're not a road dog. You don't deserve to be a road dog. Well, you're a rapist. I still don't know what a road dog is. What can only be described as my flatmate having phone sex while using Christian Bale's Batman voice. Upstairs neighbors were a single mom and teenage daughter. They were very loud. The mom's room was above my room. One day I had off and was woken up by sex upstairs. It was pretty common in the previous couple weeks. This time, though, someone came in and started screaming. You're having sex in my bed? Turns out the daughter had been skipping school and coming back to the apartment with her boyfriend. They were the ones having sex in the mom's bed. The fight that ensued should have earned both women awards. I moved from far away, so I have a different state license plate than everyone else at the apartment complex. A couple of days ago I had my upstairs neighbor drunkenly ranting to his wife about what he thinks I'm up to. He's convinced that I'm on the run from something. I'm just in grad school now. Okay, but take a second to realize the opportunity you have here. I'd personally play this one out. Give vague answers when asked about your life. When walking to your car, look over both shoulders at least once a week. Fake a phone call while they're home with a vague but suspicious conversation. If you see them in the hallway, ask them if they've seen someone resembling a sketchy character you've made up. You have a chance to be truly mysterious. They'll tell stories of you for years to friends about the neighbor who may have been on the run. Good fake phone call sentences. It's in the middle of the fucking Nevada desert. Who the hell is gonna dig it up? For the last time, he's never going to know it was US. I hope you remembered to use a burner phone when you contacted them. I lived next to a couple some years ago and they came home after a night out and started fighting about who was better at darts. I thought they were joking, but it got pretty heated. Doors were slammed. Edit, since people are asking, they were playing darts at the bar earlier that night. From what I could tell, they were playing as a team and the boyfriend wasn't pulling his weight and was super defensive about it, had an off night, allegedly. The girlfriend was mad he couldn't accept she was better. I'm no detective but think they had some relationship issues bigger than darts. I lived next to a guy who took care of his disabled girlfriend. She stayed home with a nurse while he worked to support them and pay for her healthcare. Everyone really admired him for it. He used to get drunk and tell her that if she doesn't start putting out he's gonna throw her ass out. William. We do not hit. His mom was visiting. He was 30. My parents told me stories about the apartment they lived in when I was a baby. The lady above us was a classically trained pianist and her music room was above my room. Apparently when I would start crying in my crib she would start playing and I would go right to sleep. After my parents divorced, my dad stayed in the same apartment. A few years later when I went to visit him, I was about 10 or 11, I got to finally meet her for the first time. The woman who used to play me to sleep as a baby taught me how to play the piano 10 years later. Yesterday when I was taking a shit, my neighbor was blasting classical music on full volume. It was the most majestic and relaxing shit I've taken in a long time. Pre-dawn hours, blizzard outside, everything still and quiet. My roommate and I heard our neighbor on the other side of the firewall fart, wet and deep like a stifled baritone sax, and exclaimed to himself in a twisted combination of awe and disgust, "Oh my God!" We burst out laughing, and hear him chime in with pride. "Did you guys hear that?" Vindicated that his fart was heard and forever lives in our memories. This one is my favorite. My dad used to fart loudly in his sleep, and I told my sister it sounded like someone slapping a vat of butterscotch pudding. She laughed so hard she cried, peed in her pants, and woke my parents up. We were in our 20s, so it was kind of awkward. Editing to add, in the nanosecond I had, post-paternal pudding fart, I envisioned a big vat of pudding, with a hand slapping it. My dad has always only liked two kinds of pudding, and one was butterscotch, so that's what I envisioned. The other kind he likes is tapioca, and I'm glad I didn't think of it, because fundamentally, when you compare puddings, butterscotch was perfect. Tapioca would have only conjured up lumps and a sharty mess to clean up. Edit number 2. I told my dad about this post, and he was horrified that I thought a fart he'd slept through was his best. He and my mom agreed that her funeral fart, posted further down, was an award winner. Then he says, "Tell them, all Redditors, I assume, about the time your mother made seagulls fart. And how she trapped us in the room while she air shit herself. Tell 'em that one." My dad did, too. One night, after working a double, I was trying to be quiet making my way down the hall to my room. He ripped a violent one, and yelled, "You motherfucker." That stunk. In his sleep. I was choking trying not to lose my shit laughing. I ran face first into my door. It's been over 20 years since that incident, and I still have laughing fits over it. An argument about money while I was doing the dishes. It ended with a slammed door and one of them on a piano, hitting the keys like a maniac. Some people read, some people go get something to eat, some people exercise. This motherfucker relieves stress by going crazy on the piano. Lol. I've heard and felt the neighbors upstairs having sex. And apparently they like to rearrange the furniture at least twice a week. I can hear when my neighbors vacuum. Our building tends to vacuum together as a result. I hear my upstairs neighbor and go, "Oh hey, I should vacuum, haven't done that in a while and it's already noisy." Then my downstairs neighbor and my left-hand neighbor start vacuuming. It's kinda hilarious. My right-hand neighbor doesn't vacuum with us but does sing opera while doing dishes. Our neighbors were once talking loud and I was nosy, so I put my ear up to the wall and realized she was reading him Harry Potter pretty enthusiastically, and it made my heart melt. My dad snoring like a bear, and my mum snoring like a walrus. If they argue, they snore out of sync, and if they have a nice day they snore in sync. It's really quite sweet. I actually manage an apartment complex where my office is surrounded by a one-bedroom unit. The building is old and the walls are thin. The tenant that used to live in the unit was a quiet man but would frequently sing beautiful opera music. His voice was amazing and I loved it every time I heard him sing. Then one time I saw him in the halls and made the mistake of asking if he was the one who sang these beautiful opera songs. His face turned red but he confirmed that it was him. I told him that I always enjoyed it when I heard him sing and that it would always brighten my day. Never should have said anything because I never heard him sing again. My landlord fucking his wife couple of times per week. She screamed like a porn star. They were on the first floor and I was on the second one. Sometimes if I'd walk above their bedroom and they heard it, they'd stop for a couple of seconds and go right back to Boner Town after. Edit, forgot something. So yeah, we were 3 guys living in the apartment and we'd often invite some girls over, friends, to have dinner and drinks, but we would usually stay up pretty late and it would be in the middle of the week, pretty much once a week. They were the kind of girls who talk pretty loud, and our landlord asked us if we were having orgies. He wasn't even kidding. Didn't know how to respond to that, so we just laughed it off and kept him wondering. Years ago I had an upstairs neighbor. At 2 a.m. every night, I would hear something sprint across the entire apartment. I realized 3 things: it was very fast, it took small strides, and it never deviated from its path. One day, I saw my neighbor outside and I said, "I don't know how you have energy at 2 a.m. He responded with, "Dude, I've been working the midnight to 8 a.m. shift for 15 years. Doesn't bother me at all." That night, I watched him leave his house, drive off, and waited 2 hours. At exactly 2 a.m., I heard what sounded like 2 feet hit the floor in his bedroom, and the marathon started. A few weeks later, I see him outside. I tell him what I hear at night and he says, "That's strange, no one has my keys, it's just me and my rabbit up there."